Hello, this is Elizabeth Bouchard-Hall, and welcome to some nursing education on promoting a low sodium diet in patients with heart failure. Nurses, techs, pharmacists, this is because I work in the emergency department. This is sort of meant to speak to all of us that see patients in the acute exacerbations. But with our feedback, we also got some ideas on how these patients might be educated from an inpatient nursing standpoint as well. Let's begin. So just imagine your patient comes in and they're presenting with dyspnea, they're edematous, they're anxious, they have adventitious breath sounds. They're obviously in distress. So their poor little heart is huffing and puffing. They're having some fluid overload issues, which is obviously a scary situation for the patient, also their family. Once we get them out of the acute phase, we may start to get the story. So, what happened to bring you in here? And what we tend to hear, as it states at the bottom, this is just a fictional amalgam of what people typically say, is they may have gone on vacation, stopped taking their Lasix because they didn't want to urinate frequently, and they may have been eating foods that they don't typically eat, not really putting all of these things together that this is going to exacerbate their heart failure. This is just a little cartoon that the brain is saying, heart, you're failing me. Get your act together. So heart failure is the fastest growing cardiovascular disorder in the US and worldwide. As of 2007, 5 million Americans affected. That's probably much larger now. Does lower dietary sodium matter? It not only matters, but lots of patients don't make the connection between dietary sodium and their exacerbations. And that's where we come in. As nurses, this is something that we can really help with education and promoting health. It absolutely helps. Patients are going to say, really? Is this a thing? So reduction of dietary sodium can reduce heart failure exacerbations, which, as we know, lead to ER visits, hospital admissions, and importantly, just from the hospital administration standpoint and quality of life standpoint for our patients, hospital readmissions, Medicare, Medicaid, these things are tracked. It's a measure that we want to keep an eye on. If you educate them, they may eat less salt. So if the patients don't know that a lower sodium diet can keep them from having exacerbations, then they won't do it. But if we educate them, then at least they'll have the connection and they can start to make some changes. Education of heart failure patients leads to greater compliance, increased quality of life, and reduced healthcare costs. Something I hear from patients quite often is, I don't want to be in here. This isn't what I wanted to have happen. And when they don't feel like they know how they got there, it can feel like they're out of control. I'm not really sure how this happens. Just one day I wake up and I have trouble breathing and my legs are swollen. If they make those connections about things that they can do, they're more likely to take a part in keeping themselves out of the hospital. So tell your patients a lower sodium diet really does help, and also their families. Their families are going to be the ones who are supporting them and helping them make those changes at home. In a 2007 article, patients listed diet as the least important management tool, failed to see the link between sodium intake, fluid retention, and increasing symptoms. We can help them see that link. So education topics for our patients. We want to educate them on the link between sodium, fluid overload, and heart failure symptom exacerbation. We want to tell them what the hidden sources of sodium and learning to read food labels. Highest foods that are really high in sodium are canned foods, frozen dinners, snack foods, packaged starchy foods, deli meats and cheeses, things that are smoked, cured smoked meats. Also breads. People may not think of, sometimes breads have salted tops, but also just processed breads can have a lot of salt in them. We want to also, the patient who presents with heart failure symptoms or acute on chronic heart failure exacerbation. They're not our only patient. The family is also our patient, and we want to support them in making those dietary changes as well. Patients are more compliant when they're doing it with family members. And a nursing theory that I particularly like is the Bandura self-efficacy model. So Bandura states that individuals with high levels of self-efficacy expectations are more likely to set higher goal challenges. They expect that their efforts will produce favorable change and believe that obstacles to their goals are surmountable. So if someone is educated on their diet and they look at their diet and they say, oh, I see what needs to happen now, and they have support and they feel like they can get from A to B with changes that they can make, they're much more able to be successful. So education tools, we're going to teach our patients how to do daily weights. If they notice that if they're gaining weight quickly, that's a good time for them to speak with their doctor, maybe speak about having a PRN diuretic and taking a look at what they're intaking and what may have changed to cause that rapid weight gain. Educating them that the daily recommended low sodium diet is 2 grams to 2.3 grams, and what that looks like in their diet. Helping them find cookbooks that focus on low sodium, having them read labels that say low sodium, and keeping a food diary. 3-day food diaries have been shown to, have people just eat what they normally eat, not try to set a specific sodium goal, and then have them look at how much sodium are you actually taking in. For some of our more technologically savvy patients, there are apps that help you track what you eat and can parse out sodium and different nutrients. And that may even help them graph. They can see, trending lower as they make dietary changes, or if they're on vacation, trending higher. Not having them track their food all the time, but having them set a baseline, get an idea, some feedback for what food looks like. These are all tools that we can help our patients with. Return demonstrations. This is the cornerstone of nursing education, I feel. So we can have patients organize cans of food from lowest to highest sodium content. Plan a whole day of meals. So, have them plan out a 3-meal day and say, okay, let's see what this looks like. Make a spices list that are sodium free and palatable to the patient. So if they know they love, things with lots of pepper in them, or turmeric, or, things that that they can look forward to eating that don't have salt. And we can look at the food diary together. How did they do? Where are some things that may taste just as good without sodium, or the lower sodium options may not be a stretch for them to make. We have to remember that patients are coming in and they may not be ready to receive education. But if we give it in a respectful way, respect that they're adults, meet the patient where they are, they may have multiple comorbidities, and these things don't happen in a vacuum. So they may be dealing with smoking cessation and compliance with their medications, and dietary things, if they don't live in a supportive environment, may seem like a bridge too far. But it's good if the education is given in a respectful, non-judgmental way, that hopefully they'll start to make the connection between their self-efficacy. And if they come in again, you never really know what is going to get through or what time is going to make a difference. The patient definitely has to get there on their own, but if we don't make the effort, then we could miss some of those opportunities. Always respecting our patients and respecting that just because we tell them they have to do this doesn't mean they're going to, and that is their choice. But setting them up with a dietary consult, especially working in the emergency department, we're not going to be organizing cans with our patients before discharge, but we can help them get some of the resources that they need outpatient, or give good report that the patient may have been traveling and not eating a lower sodium diet, and some of the inpatient nurses are really good about educating on heart failure and helping our coworkers be supported in that education. Sister Callista Roy has the Roy adaptation model. She says, when push comes to shove, we seldom disappoint ourselves. We all harbor greater stores of strength than we think. Adversity brings the opportunity to test our mettle and discover for ourselves the stuff of which we are made. Um, if we approach patients like that and say, okay, you're coming to the hospital now, and this may be the adversity that you need to make some changes. As I am a big fan of the YouTube format of presenting, I think that you're able to reach a wider group of your coworkers at the time that they're able to take the time to educate themselves. I also believe in the online format of surveying. I did print surveys, and I appreciate my coworkers who filled out the paper version of the survey. But if you're watching this, please feel free to click the link and go to my Survey Monkey tool. My references. And thank you very much for listening. Be well and go forth with health promotion and a lower sodium diet.